Good evening. We're breaking down an analysis with a stark warning tonight that behind the scenes of high-stakes diplomacy, the groundwork for a new conflict may already be laid. The claim is that a Mideast confrontation isn't just a possibility, it's being actively prepared for. Let's get right into the evidence presented. Right off the bat, the source of this analysis points to a huge contradiction. On one hand, you have these delicate diplomatic talks happening in Muscat, Oman, between Iran and the US. But at the very same time, you have the unmistakable signs of military preparation, as the US reportedly builds up its forces in Saudi Arabia. These are two very different stories playing out at once. And that brings us to the core allegation of this report, that the negotiations are, and I'm quoting here, a pretense. Basically, a diplomatic smokescreen, something to keep the world looking one way while the US actually prepares for a potential military strike on Iran. Now, a claim that big needs some serious backing. So what's the evidence? Okay, so first up, the catalyst. According to this analysis, what's pushing things forward isn't just politics. It's a new, very specific military threat that Iran has supposedly developed. A threat aimed directly at what you might call the Achilles heel of modern air power. And that weak spot would be these planes, aerial refueling tankers. You can just think of them as flying gas stations. Fighter jets, especially when they're loaded up for a mission, can't fly forever, so these tankers meet them in midair to top them off. Without these guys, long-range air power is pretty much impossible. Now here's where it gets really interesting. The source claims these critical refueling maneuvers happen at an incredibly low altitude. We're talking just 300 feet, and it's at that exact height that Iran has allegedly tested a new drone called the Gaza drone, specifically designed to take out these tankers while they're most vulnerable. And this isn't some theoretical threat. The report says this test happened just last month. This development, it claims, has created a brand new and frankly terrifying vulnerability for American and Israeli air forces. It's changed the whole equation, and it's forced the US to make an immediate and powerful countermove. So what is that countermove? How does the US respond to a threat like that? Well, the analysis points to the deployment of a very sophisticated piece of military tech, something it calls a flying tower, designed to control the electronic battlefield. The report claims 3 of these E-11A aircraft were just moved from a base in Greece to the Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia. And according to the media cited in the source, this isn't a defensive posture. It's seen as a clear signal that the US is pressing forward with its plans, not backing away from a confrontation. So what exactly is an E-11A? Well, it's basically a flying command and control center. It's carrying a system called BACN. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the source puts it simply. It's a flying communications tower, a central hub for everything happening on the battlefield. Its mission, according to the source, is twofold. First, it flies way up high, so high that no known Iranian missile or drone can touch it. From up there, it creates a secure, unbreakable communications network for US forces. But second, and this is crucial, it's a weapon, a tool for electronic warfare designed to jam and disrupt enemy systems. And this really shows you the invisible side of modern warfare. It's a battle of signals. The US relies on GPS. The source says Iran has gotten its hands on China's advanced Baidu navigation system. So the job of the E-11A is to win that electronic fight, to essentially blind Iran's navigation systems while protecting America's own. But then the analysis takes a big step back. It argues that all these tactical moves, the drones, the jammers, the planes, they're just small pieces on a much, much larger chessboard. They're all part of a grand strategy with a far more ambitious goal. And here's where the source directly challenges the official story. It asks a simple question. Is this whole showdown really about stopping Iran's drones or its nuclear program? Or is that just the convenient explanation for a much deeper objective? The author of this analysis is blunt. They state that the ultimate goal here isn't regional security, it's the total control of global energy. Now, the source uses the term Dajjalic country. It's important to note this is a direct quote. In Islamic tradition, the Dajjal is a false messiah, a figure of deception, so the term implies a system of ultimate evil. So here's the alleged plan, laid out in stages. First, you neutralize Iran, which is seen as the main obstacle. After that, you control the key shipping lanes, the Strait of Hormuz, the Red Sea. That gives you leverage to dominate the Gulf's oil states. And the final step, you establish total control over the world's fuel supply. And this all leads to the source's final and most dire warning. It's an attempt to paint a picture of what this new world order, one built entirely on energy control, would actually look like. The source calls this endgame the Geopolitics system. It's a global framework where every nation, especially any nation that doesn't have its own oil and gas, becomes completely dependent on the United States just to function. In a system like this, the U.S. wouldn't just be influencing markets. It would hold the power to decide who gets fuel and who doesn't. European power would be limited, the Islamic world's influence would be neutralized, and every other nation would have to ask America for the resources they need to power their society. And this quote from the source really paints a stark picture of that dependency. It's a world where global bodies like the UN or NATO become irrelevant. Why? Because the real power belongs to whoever controls the energy tap. A system where countries would have to beg, not just for oil, but maybe even for food. And so this is where the analysis leaves us. It ends with the central question that hangs over everything. Are we watching a fight over missiles and regional threats? Or are we seeing the opening moves in a much larger global contest for control of the world's single most vital resource?